right, folks, welcome back to Coffee Time with Almeida. What's happening? Today is Tuesday. I believe it is the 19th, right? We have the 19th here? Yeah, Tuesday, May 19th. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood here in Plymouth already. I don't know about where you guys are at, but looking forward to a day of maybe do a little gardening, a little computer work, with the kids sleeping. Maybe let's roll around dirt. I don't know. So yeah, yesterday was a great episode. We had Ben Terry on, and today we have a good friend, an old friend from the bartending biz and the United States Bartending Guild, and now he is the tasting room manager at Sons of Liberty Liquor and Spirits. And Pat Cull, we're going to bring him on here in 2 seconds. I'm clicking some buttons here. Here we go. Pat Cull, what's happening? Yeah, just hanging out. Hang on 1 second here. I don't have audio on you. Just give me 1 second. Double check this. It's me, not you. It's me, not you.
Okay.
It's always me, not you. Pat Cull, what's happening?
Hey, Chris. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, dude. How's it going?
Going very well.
It's been a while.
Just in the front bar at Sons of Liberty.
Yeah, so tell me where you're at right now. You're at Sons of Liberty?
So right now I'm in our front bar area at Sons of Liberty Beer and Spirits Co. Decided to do this from work today because we're going to be making some sanitizer, so I didn't want to kind of throw my 40-minute commute in the middle of this and leave the team hanging. So once this is done, I'm going to hop in back, change up, and then start bottling sanitizer.
So tell me about that process. What's that like?
So the process for this is we're following the WHO recipe, using a large batch of Nutri-Grain spirit, cutting it down to the correct proof, adding the other required ingredients so it's safe and not rough on the skin, and then both giving away and selling it depending on what entity is contacting us. So right off the bat, we had done like a small bottle giveaway for the local community, basically like a drive-through setup. That way we can be contactless, put it in the back seat for people in the area who might need it. Mike, who you'll probably hear me mention a few times, Mike Capucci, who's the owner of Sons of Liberty Beer and Spirits Company, almost as soon as it started kind of exploring the idea of having a product that could help support the staff that might be out of work and also kind of help the community. So the sanitizer was a perfect fit, which is great. As a distillery, we're set up to handle, large volumes of neutral grain. So it worked out perfectly. And what's cool is like we've seen a lot of really awesome gratitude from the community. We've helped Boston PD out, State of Rhode Island. We're working on small bottles for polling stations for the upcoming polls for people that are going to poll in person. So I know that is a bit of a hot button topic at the moment. But we're just doing our best to try and get as much as we can out to people that need it.
That's pretty amazing. Are you guys are still open, right?
Kind of, sort of. So we were actually, I think, probably about a half a week early on shutting down before this all happened. Mike had caught wind of what was happening and wanted our staff to be safe. So he kind of shut things down early. He said, hey, I'll pay you guys for the next 2 weeks, and then let's see what happens and where everything goes. So it was really generous on his part. And as we kind of started to see everything develop, we decided to start working on some things in the background. We started working on bottled cocktails, figuring out like an online store for our retail, and then figuring out how to sell some of the sanitizer that we don't give away. And in the last, let's say, 3 weeks, time is kind of weird right now. I'm not used to this day job thing. Definitely used to bartender hours. You know how it is. And we've sort of started to reopen for pickup. So people can order bottles of booze or our merchandise and apparel for pickup at the distillery. Our actual space isn't physically open except for our manufacturing purposes, and our pickup process is contactless. People pull up, shoot us a call or a text, we drop it right in their trunk in the back seat for them. That way, try and keep it as safe as possible.
So you're doing bottled cocktails to go?
So we're working on that. What's interesting is we follow a different process than, like, let's say the bars in Providence will. The relaxed restrictions on bars don't necessarily apply to us. So what we have to do is, did I cut out there for a second?
That's cool.
The process is a little different for us. So rather than just bottling everything up to a standard cocktail spec, we have to submit all our recipes to the federal government for approval and treat it like we would whiskey or a liqueur. So we basically have to, in detail write out all our recipes, submit them to the Fed. They say, okay, this is safe. These ingredients are good. The product will be this rough alcohol content, and then you can sell it. So we're hoping the process will actually finish up this week and we can start putting things out. But it's been great because our staff has got to experiment with lots of different bottled cocktail ideas, including like fermenting citrus and things like that.
Yeah. So once you're set up to do that, you can do it forever.
That's the great part about it, is we can continue to do it if we'd like. We've always talked about it. I mean, Sons of Liberty has the Loyal 9 cocktail brand, which are the awesome canned cocktails you can sing everywhere. But the nice part about the Loyal 9 cocktails is they're very simple, straightforward, and vodka-based. They taste exactly like whatever the label says they are, nothing more, nothing less. With the taproom cocktails, it's more of like a classic cocktail bar approach where we have, variations on things like whiskey sours. We're working on a bottled old fashioned, a gimlet, a variation on a painkiller, and so on, which are a little bit, harder to can because the process of getting it through the canning line and making sure it's shelf stable is tough, but for bottling, it's fairly easy.
So if you're doing like something like a painkiller, you have coconut milk in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do
and then it's making decisions.
Go ahead.
So that's an interesting question. So it's, okay, do you go with Coco Lopez because it's a flavor profile people are used to? Do you make your own in-house? How can you assure that it won't separate out on you? The nice part about that particular cocktail, we found that we built it with Coco Lopez, and the bottle is simple as shake and everything reconstitutes nicely, assuming you blended it all together nice in the first place. Mm-hmm. So in the batching process, you kind of got to like shear it or hit it with a stick blender to make sure everything binds up. And that we found, I think we've got one bottle back there that's 3 weeks old just to test what it does and tastes like. And it's surprisingly tasting really good still, and just one shake and everything lines right back up.
Oh. Are you putting fresh citrus in there?
So no. What we've actually doing is we started with fresh citrus in combination with cordial, see if we could get a couple-day shelf life, and we were happy at the 3-4 day mark in some cases, but starting to get that like intense bitter content you get from citrus after it's sat. Even though there's very little air in the bottle, there's other processes at work. So in the last year or so, we've been exploring a lot of concepts with lacto-fermented citrus. So my assistant manager and counterpart here, Rachel DiGiulio, has been working on adjusting that ferment and trying to get used fermented citrus to taste interesting. And it's actually yielded some pretty cool results. The problem with it is you have to add sugar and a little bit of a lactobacillus bacteria to get it to ferment the way you want to create the cool flavors. And then it doesn't work like normal citrus in the cocktail. Suddenly it has a little more sweetness and not the same acidity. We were able to dial that in a little bit more in the last couple of weeks by acid adjusting the lacto ferment. Mm-hmm. So it'd be as acidic as lime juice again. So what's cool is you have this really beautiful, acidic, bright, funky but not bitter ferment that we found to be at least a week shelf stable on its own, never mind in the cocktail where it'll probably have even longer life. And we tasted one bottle at, I think, a week and a half. It tasted like it was made that day. Oh. Wined against another cocktail made fresh, which is really cool.
That's pretty sweet. So the lacto ferment process, is that a real pain in the ass?
It's not so bad. Essentially, you're going to take your old citrus, and you can do it with citrus that's actually already been sitting a day, which is really interesting. You're going to add basically a probiotic blend if you're just doing it at home, a little bit of sugar. The template we started with for experimenting it was a guest post on the Trash Tiki website. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those guys. Their whole process is like, they're a really cool group. They're basically like trying to be zero waste. There's some bartenders from the UK, work some really amazing bars, who now travel the world teaching zero waste concepts, bartending making. And they their whole motto is drink like you give a fuck, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Sorry, wasn't sure if I was supposed to swear there.
Oh yeah, I don't give a shit. Go fuck shit balls.
So they really put a lot of effort into creating these really wonderful recipes using waste product. And they'll do a thing where they come into town for a pop-up, they'll go to a local coffee shop, get used coffee grounds, use citrus from bars, things like that, and make all these wonderful things. So we started with a guest post on their site about fermented citrus and started there and then built on the recipe over the course of the last probably 6 months.
That's awesome. So you have Spinzall though, right?
We do.
Did you try
We
to
have
clarify, sir? Good.
we have actually tried clarifying it, and it does get really crisp and nice. We find for some cocktails that works, some it doesn't. Kind of same with you've had, I think, a cocktail with clarified versus unclarified. Like sometimes it's really clean and bright, but it can almost be too one note. With the
I always feel like it has a weird taste, like to me. And no matter, I've had it a bunch of times. I've done it on my own, and I feel like I can definitely tell when something. I mean, obviously with your eyes you can tell, but that does it certainly taste about stuff that's been clarified with the Spinzall. I mean, maybe I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think you're wrong. I've had some really wonderful cocktails where they're trying to narrow in on a couple of flavor notes, but I think people underestimate how much they enjoy how round and wonderful a lot of the solids you spin out of in citrus are, and also like. I think all of us who've bartended long enough know that a little bitterness is not a bad thing. Like, you know, whether it's properly bittering a cocktail, using an ingredient that just has a hint of rind to it and things like that. It's funny, with the Loyal 9 cocktail series here, I think one of the reasons it tastes like real lemonade is because we peel lemons for it almost every week. And when you see the peel, there still is a little bit of rind on it and a little bit of a pith. And like a touch of that pith, I think actually makes the thing taste like proper fresh home squeezed lemonade versus like an artificial lemon extract or a lemon oil extract, which you get in a lot of other commercial cocktails.
Are you using a Y peeler?
Actually, for the Loyal 9 series, we use Rotatos.
Oh, really?
The automatic potato peeler style setup.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's work. I mean, like you basically have to feed the thing and clean and care for it, which is really cool. But what's great is you end up with this one continuous peel of citrus. You don't waste much off the fruit. And then you can weigh that out and use it as needed. It's funny because like we've done pounds upon pounds upon pounds of that here over the last couple of years, and I saw someone on a cocktail blog recently being like, how to make like the perfect spiral garnish, and they were using the same thing, and I was like, I never want to see that thing again.
Well, you probably have to adjust it like every
because, like,
lemon's different, right?
By the time you reloaded 4 continuously across the day, it's like, oh boy.
Well, you guys use a shitload of citrus.
Well, the thing's pretty good at dealing with change in size because I feel it's meant to deal with potatoes, so it can do that. Yeah.
Are you making oleosaccharides?
Also, what's interesting is I've noticed the quality of citrus we're buying has gone way up. I think with restaurants and bars closed, so.
Oh, so you're getting
a little bit.
How are your limes looking?
I haven't messed with it too much. There's a cocktail. The limes actually, I went to Restaurant Depot, I think 2 weeks ago to grab limes so we could experiment with some more fermented citrus. And the limes are some of the best I've seen. Like perfect, no brown parts, round and a little bit oversized. And the lemons are the same way.
I'm curious
how this is messing with everybody's supply chains. I wonder if like the lousy grade lemons and limes.
We have like a weird little delay, so I'm just going to try to give more breathing room here to talk. I keep interrupting you. So hang on a second here. What's it like around you down there?
Go ahead.
What's it like down there? You're in Narragansett?
So North Kingston area, Wakefield. As far as like the community, it's been pretty cool to see the amount of people that have come out since we've opened up retail ordering and been just super happy to like be able to get a bottle of booze and say hi, even if it's through a car window. Even when we were doing the sanitizer giveaways, like our regulars were driving through the line, honking and waving at us, sometimes with their whole family in the car, which is, kind of a sweet gesture. Our staff has been really, really great. So some of our sales staff and things like that had, a little time away from being out on the road just because everything that's happening. But most of our production staff has still been here, and our bar staff has been doing all the sanitizer and pickup work. So everybody has taken really well to a changed role and have worked really hard and been really helpful. Mike also did some nice things where, like, it's funny actually, the first couple weeks back from this, rather than everybody fighting the lines in the grocery store, he had me order produce and food for the staff and basically create a pantry here in our walk-in where we normally have our cocktail set up and everything. And what's been cool about that is, there's food around so I could cook lunches, so I could glove up, mask up, And rather than people having to order lunch or go out or leave and kind of risk their own health or their family's health, we could have like a nice healthy meal here. So I get to be a line cook for a day again, which is pretty fun.
That's awesome. That is really remarkable that you guys are be able to do that. You have a gigantic walk-in too, probably, right? Hey, can you
It's
hear
a
me?
pretty good sized one. I mean, figure we got to fit like 16 kegs in that at some point, plus all our backups. I can.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me?
I can. I see we have like a 15-second delay for some reason, but whatever.
Oh yeah, there's a big delay.
Oh, the internet. Everybody must be on the internet today. So let's see here.
Oh yeah.
What are you guys looking forward to the next couple months?
It's really strange. We've been starting some renovations on the production side, trying to improve our setup, like make things a little bit more efficient while we have some extra staff on hand that isn't necessarily behind the bar all the time. We are just trying to make fixes and make things work. What's interesting about having success with the batch cocktails is like, okay, like this can improve our cocktails on draft game now that we have some better shelf stability and some really cool flavors happening. So we're working on that. We're trying to figure out how to creatively deal with loss of bar sales and keep our staff, employed and happy. So how do we do digital classes? Can we do collaborations? We did an awesome little collaboration sale with Ocean Mist last week where we got some Bloody Mary mixed from them and sold it with our Loyal Mind vodka. That way people had like a Bloody Mary kit for the weekends. And things like that have been really nice just because you can give people a little bit of a taste of their favorite place and support brands and restaurants you like. So that's been cool. And I think
That's
what's interesting about this, we're kind of watching what everyone else is doing and taking inspiration from it. Like the folks at Dolores, I've brought a couple of their batch cocktails down here a few times and we all love them. And we're trying to think like, okay, how do we set up our business in a way that rather than competing with these places that we really enjoy, how do we support them and showcase their product alongside ours? Or, mention them or shout them out or, create an educational setting where like we'd be like, hey, this is cool, but like please support your local bars and restaurants. They help keep us afloat as well.
That's really remarkable that you guys are able to do that with those folks. I have a visitor.
And we're just in the beginning of this, I think. I'm kind of. Hi.
Just give me 1 second, okay? I'm gonna just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Wife.
Not a problem.
Yeah, I can't do this. I'm gonna have to not do the show anymore. He's literally climbing on my back while I'm trying to do this. I'm in the middle of the show right now. I don't know. Look, you need to stop doing that, buddy. I'm gonna play with you in a minute. 5 more minutes. Yeah. All right, I'm back.
Hello again.
The children. I apparently should have given him his iPad, but I did not. Whoops. So what did I have to say? I don't know. Sorry, my train of thought got broken there.
So what have you been doing, Chris? Like,
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, like I know I saw Ben's thing yesterday, and like I know you've been like back at the bar a little bit, kind of seeing how things are going. But what have you been doing with your spare time?
Oh, the show. Believe it or not, it's kind of like work intent. Like I'm booking a guest every day, and if I haven't, I usually call them up. So I apologize. We didn't really talk much before this interview, but I figured that we could do it without too much homework.
No worries.
I maintain our little website. I got a bunch of stuff going on. I probably put about 2 hours a day into the show, which isn't really much. But here and there pieces outside of actually shooting it. And then gardening, taking care of my chickens, hanging out, trying to be a decent parent. It's harder than it sounds. But yeah, we're getting the restaurant ready. We're doing to go today. So if you're in Plymouth and you're watching,
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for all the parents who are stuck at home with kids.
yeah, it's I'm definitely not a teacher, at least for children. I mean, I could probably do it. I don't know. I'm failing at being a stay-at-home dad teacher, failing miserably. So. Not funny. But the restaurant, today's the first day we're doing to go. So we're back at it. We're doing noodle night at the Tasty. If you guys are in Plymouth, it's I'm not going to be there, but I did all the back end work, so I got the website going. Nina and I have been brainstorming. We just started using an SMS app so we can get out to our followers like more on a personal level. So we're kind of looking for that.
Awesome.
Looking forward to doing to go. We got some other cool stuff happening. It'd be amazing if Massachusetts let us do to go cocktails. That would be awesome. Considering
They really should at this point. I mean,
it's insane.
Honestly, if they want you guys to do well and survive, they're going to support you in every way.
Mm-hmm. Because letting us be open is like a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, right? So let's try some more Band-Aids to cover up that bullet hole. Are you force carbonating any of your cocktails?
It's kind of frustrating too to see that letting you guys be open.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Where?
For modeling purposes, no worries. Answer both questions. So for force carbonating, none of the bottled cocktails right now. We just released our Loyal Light from the Loyal 9 series, which is basically like a light sparkling lemonade cocktail that they're doing carbonation for. And the process is really interesting. There's an inline carbonator and all sorts of setup process for that. And they're actually working on improving it today and tomorrow as well. It's cool to see them come, take the cocktail, be like, this is really good. Let's make it better. Mm-hmm. I always like watching that and like a process like this. But back to what I was saying before, it's kind of interesting where you see like, Band-Aid on a bullet hole. For some people, it's just another bullet hole forcing them to be open, where it's like, okay, so you can't collect now. You have to go to work. You have to make less money with more effort at higher cost. And, it's frustrating to see all these people with wonderful small businesses put in this position. I mean, here at Suns, we're really fortunate in that as a manufacturer and people producing booze, people are still consuming our product. And, we have things at a nice price point where, it's affordable for people. We're not breaking the bank, especially with the cocktails. But seeing these people who have these wonderful, wonderful bars and fine dining restaurants have to reopen and try and make this happen with half the staff. Like, okay, what's the rest of the staff doing? Like, who's going to have to stay laid off? Who's going to, make significantly less because they aren't tips? How are these owners on these razor thin margins going to afford to pay people more hourly when they're barely feeding themselves? It seems like a giant failure at a government level not to care about these businesses.
Giant failure on the government level. I mean, my job's eliminated. I'm not going to be getting behind a bar for about a year, probably.
And you're one of the masses on that one. I mean, As far as my job here, like I'm probably not going to be bartending for at least 3 to 6 months in minimum. And, yet again, as I said, I'm lucky to still have a job and have a boss and a team that supports us. But, for all these people that I know that, I've been behind the bar with for years, I really worry about them. Like, thankfully, people are clever and hardworking. Like I know Jen, Horace, Parker have been doing amazing to-go cocktails at the Yeti. Joaquin and Marco and their family have been doing wonderful things at Dolores. I just saw Kaylee Speck in the East End team release their to-go menu, and it looks brilliant. And I've already ordered from Birch and Oberlin a couple times to see how Ben's doing. But even with all the creativity, all the hard work and wonderful recipes, like, can they afford to pay the rents that they're supposed to pay, care for themselves and their employees, and still keep going? Like I lose sleep over it, to be honest.
Oh, I'm seeing like margins of people doing 15% of the sales they were doing before.
That's terrifying.
It's crazy. Um, I feel like a lot of bartenders, especially ones that we know, are very resilient and crafty. And everybody
Sure.
has a side hustle, almost. At least in the group of people we know, you know.
That is true. It seems like everybody's an artist, musician, something.
And
But even
you know,
still,
actually,
you wonder what happens. Like, you go
I
ahead.
no, I'm sorry. Have been playing more music. I mean, I always play a lot of music, just like no one knows about it. But I'm definitely doing more and trying to do something with that, just a little
That's
tiny
awesome.
bit. But you know, I think we all have art behind in us. You know, you've been doing some cooking probably, right? A lot of cooking.
Oh yeah, we've been making sourdough bread. Just kind of the stereotypical thing to do during all of this. But I've always wanted to learn to bake. It's been something I've been trying to do for years, and this is the first time I had like a week at home to actually try it. So that was really satisfying. And as far as like been working on my house, my yard in a way I've never had before. The thing I will say is like on the positive note of this, I feel like a lot of people have never gotten to spend this much time in their own home with their own family, with their roommates, with their pets, with you know, and really reflect on like, okay, like how do I spend my day? You know, most of us just get caught in the hustle. And I will say like, despite the fact that, we're in a weird mini apocalypse, uh, it's also been really nice to see how resilient some people are, like creating cool and unusual art that I've been seeing on Instagram, like working on awesome home projects, um, geeking out on those cocktail books that they've had on the shelf for years and haven't gotten to open, even though they've had it a long time. So I feel like even if things are kind of going to be bad and like get worse for a little while, everybody, at least that we know, is going to bounce back in some sort of way. You just hope that everybody can, continue to keep moving forward, even if it's a struggle.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that we're doing now is going to morph into the new normal, which I'm down with that. Hopefully, we can get everybody paid more in the new world. Do you have a garden going?
It's so we actually just tore up our entire yard. The previous owners of our house left our yard like 17 inches above the sidewalk and didn't put any retaining wall in. So it was pushing our fence out and kind of wrecking our yard. We have like a postage stamp by Roger Lynch Park, so it's not big, but we finally just decided like we have the time, let's tear the whole thing out, put in some nice grass and some garden beds and fix the whole thing up. Just got a bunch of potted plants from Southside Community Land Trust for the porch, which is cool. Get some cool herbs and tomatoes and things like that. So we're working on that too.
That's awesome. I got to come see your house someday. I know I've never been over there.
I know. I think we FaceTimed a bunch of times from, but I don't know if we've ever actually been over there. It's funny too because I feel like, and I feel this way about both my career and my home life to a certain degree, where it's like, in the last couple of years, I try and kind of stay quiet and keep to myself on a lot of things, whether it's politics, like my opinions on bars, everything like that. But the time at home to reflect has kind of taught me that, you know what, I should try and showcase what I do more and put it out there for people to see. One, because, if I ever want to establish myself as a brand, I have to kind of present myself out there. But also, the thing I've noticed by doing it that, whether it's posting pictures of bread I made or cocktail ideas or even having discussions with you, is the more you put yourself out there, the really amazing feedback you get. You start to really get to realize like how much you have in common with people that you might not have realized. Like I had a friend that I had been serving behind the bar for almost 8 years comment being like, "Hey, I just bought that book you recommended. I've been wanting to, bake bread for years." And we were sending pictures back and forth of just like a simple loaf we had baked and been like, "Yeah, this is awesome. We finally did this." It's kind of interesting to see just even like I had an old friend reach out to me who I used to cook with who was like, "Oh yeah, like I remember we talked about this years ago. I'm finally glad you did it." I'm like, "I didn't know you remembered me. Never mind that we talked about bread." Like it was kind of cool. So it's been interesting to kind of reflect and see that, people are forced to kind of be inside, but they're like, okay, like let me post about my life. Let me post about my family. Let me post about my new hobbies and things like that, and kind of share their lives and open their doors to everyone, open their homes to a certain degree. And I kind of have liked a lot of what I've seen.
Yeah, I must say that I know a lot of. Whoops, am I muted? Oh, I was muted for a second. I
Couldn't
must
hear
say
it.
that I have know a lot of folks who are really just kind of digging into their hobbies or art or whatever it might be, and I think that's really awesome. It's crazy. It takes a pandemic for us to discover all those things or rediscover those things, right? But
Yeah.
everybody's, I mean, I was working in the restaurant like 50 hours a week. I was in the restaurant, plus doing stuff from home, and I'm not even a chef, so the chefs are spending even more time there. One of those guys get to play guitar?
Yeah.
Never. Actually bought a guitar and I left it in the basement of the restaurant, but I ended up taking it home. But we'll have that back there at some point someday when we can all touch stuff again.
Yeah.
um,
Hopefully it's sooner rather than later, but we'll see.
so like what you're saying, I'm definitely gonna lacto ferment some shit.
It's really cool, and it works. Like I said, that there's a really good guest post. I forget who it's by on the Trash GQ website that has it. Most of the recipes are great. I highly recommend trying a lot of them. It's little citrus stock ones and things like that.
Our chef Mike Wisdom and Ryan, they're into fermenting everything. Wisdom ferments. He has a Instagram, Wisdom ferments, and
Definitely going to
he's
follow that.
definitely taught me a lot about fermenting.
I think fermenting is cool, and it's yet again another thing people have fallen back into with all of this, where it's like, okay, fermenting is great because it's a preservation technique. Uh, you know, what do you do when you want to save the ends of this or preserve these peppers or not go out and see people at the grocery store for a couple weeks? Well, you got to preserve and ferment your food again, and like, it's interesting to see people pick that up.
Well, it's interesting too if you can combine that with your gardening. Pickle, ferment. You have all that stuff all winter, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's funny because it's nothing new. It's rediscovering what people more or less survived on for years and years and years. Just as a consumer society, we forget about things like that because it's easy to go to the store, get the plastic wrapped sandwich, and then go on with your day. But when you take that wonderfully preserved pickled green tomato out of your fridge and make yourself a chicken sandwich out of it, it's great. There's no better taste in the world.
Dude, so baking bread, right? Making my own pickles. And then
Yeah.
I have pickled eggs that I've been making. So I had like this pickled egg salad sandwich with pickled beets
That sounds
on my
awesome.
own loaf of bread, dude. My friend's microgreens. Holy crap. So yeah, I
That's
learned how to make
wonderful.
bread. It's my bread baking is getting a lot better, but it's definitely one thing I picked up during this. Um, and it's so funny because I was baking before and using measuring cups and stuff. Now I'm completely just weighing everything, and it's just so much better.
It makes a huge difference. The thing that got me was I've been using Ken Forkish's book, and he has you bake in the crock pots, basically the cast iron, the insulated cast iron Dutch ovens, excuse me. Um, and I had always had trouble baking bread in my oven before. It always came out really weak, and now it's got this beautiful crust and it's nice and fluffy. The other
Nice.
thing I got was have you ever used a baking steel?
No.
So it's basically this big slab of stainless steel you put in your oven. You crank your oven temp all the way, up to 500 if it goes that high, and you can cook Neapolitan style pizza in your own oven. It holds the heat so well where you can cook a pizza in 5 minutes, and it has that beautifully blistered crust.
Oh, dude, I'm Amazon. I can't order anything on Amazon anymore, but
I think they're not. I think there's a company in Massachusetts in Weymouth that sells them. I think that's where their headquarters is. So you probably don't have to go to Amazon for it. I don't think I did.
I would just drive there to
Mine
get it
arrived.
because it sounds heavy.
It definitely is. I feel really bad for the delivery guy who brought mine. It's like if we weren't quarantined from the state, I definitely would have gone to get it. But you just looked really put upon as you carried this 40-pound piece of steel onto my porch.
Oh, trust me, all the delivery drivers probably are annoyed with my house. They come here every day. I feel bad for them, but someone's got to do it. I know it sucks, but
And they're one of those people where it's you just really hope they're being paid well and cared for because society would not be functioning without them.
no, we're totally screwed. Totally, totally. I mean, we're already screwed. We'd be way more screwed if we didn't have our delivery drivers. So hey, I guess we're gonna get out of here. It's already 9:40. We went over a little bit, but
Dang.
I'm going to call you up later. Actually, you call me when you're not busy because I know you're busier than I am. But if you want to give me a buzz later on today, maybe. I don't know.
Absolutely.
And do you have any last words on your way out?
If anyone and everyone is watching this, please continue to buy local stuff. The big chains don't need your help. The big companies don't need your help. They've got their product and their money put aside nicely. The people who need your help are the small mom and pop restaurants and bars, local breweries and distilleries. Especially a lot of the local breweries, they're sitting on a lot of kegs that they have to throw out now, and now have to spend the money to figure out how to package. So please support local, and it doesn't need to just be Sons of Liberty. I appreciate you supporting them because they help support me and my bar staff, as well as our awesome production crew. But if you can shop local, on a Thursday night, get a good cocktail and to-go meal from a restaurant you like, it'll go a long way to helping everything get back to normal when things right themselves again.
I love it. Thank you so much, Pat. I'm just going to have you hang on there for 1 minute. But Pat, thank you for such going on. And I'm just going to go to my outro here. Just give me a second. Going to go to my one shot here. Transition. All right. Yes, I am pressing all the buttons on my own. All right, folks. Well, I just want to say thanks for watching. I'm not going to do any comedy after this today because I don't know. I'm not gonna because I didn't pick a skit. I didn't make a skit. I don't want to run a rerun skit. So I'm just going to sit here and blah blah blah. But like Pat said, we got to support our local businesses and try not to rely on the big businesses, please. Like Amazon. I know it's really easy and we can just point and click and just do it. And, farmers market's happening this week in Plymouth, I believe at Mayflower Brewery. I think you can do a pre-order if you want to check that out. And I believe they're doing it every week. I don't know if it's at Mayflower every week. It might be moving around, but they have an awesome selection of vendors that you can get a lot of cool local stuff from. And really, we need to do that. We need to support our local folks. And if you feel into it, today is noodle night at the Tasty. You can order some to-go food, pick it up curbside. No touching, anything. I mean, we're gonna bring it out to you. You're gonna have to touch it when they make the food, but you're not gonna have to go in the building. You're not gonna have to get out of your car. You can check the website, thetastyplymouth.com. Otherwise, follow Sons of Liberty. Follow Pat Cull. Follow myself, Instagram, Facebook, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. Have a nice day. Coffee time without